Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy. And Amanda Curley is a behavioral health counselor at Native Health, and she's here today in studio to discuss back-to-school stress, which is a common experience for students, parents, and even teachers as the new academic year begins. Amanda, welcome to Native Talk Arizona.
Hello, good morning.
Super excited to have you here. So before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey, how you ended up at Native Health, and how did you, or how and why, did you become a counselor?
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in New Mexico. I moved down to Arizona about 8 years ago, I would say. I started off my education out at Northern Arizona University up in Flagstaff. There I studied social work. I took a year off after I graduated and worked inside a juvenile detention center where I worked with a lot of teenagers and just being able to do different activities with them inside the pods with them. So it was very close hands-on activities with them. And I decided to go back to school, so I moved out to Phoenix in 2020 and went to ASU to get my master's degree in social work. So once I got my master's degree, I decided that I wanted to work with children specifically, like children and adolescents. So I accepted a job with Touchstone Health Services and their birth to 5 years old therapist job. So my work was particularly around family counseling. So I worked with a lot of little kids and their families, a lot of educations to parents on, just handling situations such as stressors. So this is going to be a good topic.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, how does parents know when their children is stressed? So that's what I did for about 3 years. I was there for 3 years. It was an amazing job. But then I decided I wanted to bring back to my community. So I started working with Native Health. And now I've been here for about almost 2 years. And, it's been an amazing job, an amazing opportunity to work closely with, just my community and giving back. Particularly in mental health. I feel like mental health has been just a taboo topic in our culture that, we don't really provide safe places for kids, teenagers, adults to come. So now that, I get to give them this amazing opportunity of a safe place where, I do a lot of my counseling. It's been an amazing journey for me. So I like being here. I like the role I'm in, the job I'm in right now. So it's been an amazing journey.
Okay, so a couple questions. I want to back up a little bit. So Where are you from in New Mexico?
I am from Navajo, New Mexico.
Okay.
Little small town. I think it's about 2,500 maybe population. So yeah, I grew up there. I grew up with 5 brothers and 4 sisters.
Oh, wow.
So I have a
big family, a lot of siblings.
Yeah. So big family. But now, I feel like, we all growing up and went our own individual ways. But, we always try to come back as a family at least every other month.
Anybody else in Phoenix? Any of your siblings?
Yeah. Just recently, my little brother decided to move out here. So
oh, cool.
Now I get to see him a lot more.
Okay. All right. And then you said you were a lumberjack and then a Sun Devil. When you worked at the Juvenile Detention Center, did you enjoy that?
I did. It was something new for me, but I knew I like working with people, since I was a junior in high school, decided that I'm an amazing friend, I think. And, I just like working with people, and just being an active listener.
Well, you definitely are an active listener. I always love talking to you and listening to you. And I know last week you were when we had ASU Inspire here, you were talking to the kids, and I heard some people say after they had talked to you, like how approachable you were and how much they really enjoyed listening to you and that you listened to them, and you do such a great job. So we're thrilled to have you here. All right, so I wanted to find out, let's start off with what programs are offered by Native Health's Behavioral Health Department. Just a quick overview.
Yeah, so we do offer individual counseling, family counseling, and then we also have specific counselors that use different modalities. So we have, EMDR,
Which is?
So EMDR is an eye movement dissociation therapy, specifically trauma. If a client has gone through trauma, a good modality as well.
And what does that stand for? EMDR?
EMDR, the eye movement.
Eye movement.
Desensitization therapy.
Okay.
Yes, it's a long word.
And then therapy or counseling is for what ages? Is it 5 and up or 3 or 6 or? So
depending on the provider and what they're comfortable with, we see children 6 years old on up.
Okay.
And I'm one of the counselors that see kiddos that are 6 years old.
Okay.
On up.
Okay. For everybody here, right? At Native Health, everybody is 6 and up, nobody younger, right?
Yes.
Okay. So 6 and up. Okay.
6 and up. And a lot of it is, exploring different tools just to meet the children where they are. So I like to implement a lot of, whether it's play therapy, talk therapy, just really to try to get the children involved in expressing their emotions.
Okay. All right. So I know school's coming up, and I think stress for parents, kids, and teachers, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. I know when my kids were younger, and I always, it was great to have them at home, but it was definitely stressful to kind of get back in the groove of waking up early and having a schedule and the bus and lunches and homework. What tips do you have? Or I guess I should ask, do people get stressed? Or maybe it was just me. Do people get stressed like when it's time to go back to school?
Yes, I believe everyone gets stressed. I get stressed from time to time. Yeah, so, and one thing we also have to remember is that stress could look differently than adults. Depending on their age, also their personality is, kids cope with stress in different ways than adults would. And one of the ways that, we can tell when a child is stressed is their increase of irritability, maybe frequent tantrums that are happening, sleep patterns, like there's a disruption in sleep patterns. Maybe they're sleeping too much, maybe they're sleeping less. Maybe they have continuous nightmares. Also avoidance, like maybe they're not wanting attending school. Maybe they're isolating themselves away from friends or family. And also, like if there is changes in their behavior, maybe they're not wanting to do like chores around the house. So just like the changes in behaviors. And I think also just the withdrawing from friends and family is when we know like a child is stressed.
And what about the parents?
Parents. Mm-hmm.
I assume they're also stressed when it's time to go back to school or get kids back on a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be the same symptoms or same things for an adult? Sleep patterns and eating and I don't know, yelling at your kids.
Yeah, so sleep patterns, but also their increase in irritability. Maybe their patience is very low. And back to school is definitely a big transition for both kid and parents. And as you mentioned, Susan, like having a consistent routine, I would, suggest like whether it's a week before school or 2 weeks before school is, getting them back into the routine of their school schedules.
You mean not staying up all night and gaming and waking up, I know my I know my kids used to still be up when I would get up and go to work. They would be up all night doing stuff, and then they'd go to bed at like 6 in the morning and sleep all day. And I'm like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so definitely like getting them back into the routine, maybe a week before school, not letting them stay up
all night
playing video games. Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. So how do you know when it's time, or if it's time, to get your child, or as an adult, some professional help? If your child is like not sleeping and tantrums and just like not wanting to go to school, at what point do you say, you know what, I should probably pick up the phone and get some help?
I would say like, and as you mentioned, Susan, like the increased irritability, their changes in their sleep patterns, maybe emotional outbursts have increased. Maybe now there's more tantrums happening inside the house. Maybe you see your kids withdrawing from friends and family, is coming in and seeking professional help. And most of our work as well, we try to always include parents and at least have parent involvement in counseling, whether it's getting updates from them on how the child is doing, or also them participating inside the child's therapy as well.
So if a child's coming to you, or a parent and a child or family, do the parents come in, do they sit in the counseling session every single time and listen and say, so if you have like a 12-year-old or whatever, do they sit in there and listen to what the child says, or do they wait and then you bring them back in and kind of say, well, like maybe here's some stress reduction things we can do, or let's talk about school and, if kids are feeling bullied or whatever it might be?
Mm-hmm. So each provider is different. Some providers will like the parents to come into their therapy, or some providers would rather speak with the child first before bringing in the parents. But I know a lot of it is coordination of care. So, we always try to have the parent involved, whether it's a phone call, whether it's pulling them in, 20 minutes into the session with the child. But one thing we also like to do as provider is build rapport with them, or build rapport with the kids, so they're able to open up and express a little bit more about what's going on.
Do you find a lot of kids do they feel like bullied? Like, I know that wasn't something we're going to talk about, but do you find that a lot? A lot of the kids feel really bullied, whether it's, cyberbullying or in classes, or is that still a huge problem?
Yes. Yes.
During all of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably doesn't change a whole lot.
Yes, it happens, where you get a client that expresses that, she's being bullied or he's being bullied. And, and one thing is just creating a safe place for them to kind of express, but also, just being a listening ear for them, and just really working on self-confidence as well. But it's still a thing that we see as well. Like, bullying is definitely still out there, still exists, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think it's always been there and probably will always be there. You're right. So, Amanda, do you ever see like a lot of separation anxiety with younger children, like whether it's preschool or kindergarten? Like, I remember my child would not come out from underneath the table and let go of my leg, and we decided he probably needed that happen for weeks. Probably decided he needed to wait another year before he started kindergarten. Do you see that a lot? Is that a common thing? And how do you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do see it a lot, particularly with kids, I would say 6 on under, is I see a lot of separation anxiety, and, where they have difficulties, just being separated from their parents, whether it's mom or dad or, any relatives that they're close to. Just being anxious about the new environment that they're about to be in without having a parent there. And I can only imagine how difficult it could be for them. And a way of supporting it is just validating their feelings, just letting them know, like, I know you're scared, and just reassuring them that you're going to come back and get them.
Pick them up. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, what suggestions do you have for parents if they're dealing with stress? Like, exercise, or I don't know. What suggestions?
Yes, exercise is a good one when dealing with stress. And one thing I like to also mention is like the professional and the personal life. Like after you're off work is, we take off our cap and we leave it where it is. And we, use that time, whether it's our drive back home, to kind of decompress in our car. And when I talk about decompressing, it's, listening to music, maybe calling a friend that's cheery and, is just laughing with you. So we're not taking that stress home and we're not putting it on the kids. Whether it's financial stress is, trying to, talk with it amongst adults. But, one thing is like we try not to bring it back into the house.
That's a good tip because I think it's all too easy to do that. Mm-hmm. You're stressed at work, you're getting in the car and you're just like shuttling kids and then you just bring it in the house and tensions can escalate, stress escalates.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And one tip I always give parents is like, go to the bathroom, stay in there longer, lock yourself in there. Yeah. Whether, you take a longer shower, like, do it. It's for yourself. It's for you to just take a breath. And one thing I always also remind them is being in nature. Like being in nature is always so good, always so warming.
Take a tree bath.
Yes.
Go out with the trees. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And what about teachers? Do you find that teachers get stressed this time of year as well?
Yes.
Back to work and...
Mm-hmm. Back to work, also getting things ready for the upcoming school year. So, yeah, I would say stress is there for them as well. And, just making sure that everything is set up for school, making sure that, they have to do whatever they got to do to have everything prepared. And going back into, like the taking small breaks in between, just breathing, talking to coworkers, bringing your favorite drink to, whether it's like a tea or drinking more coffee, staying caffeinated, like, that's always so helpful in helping with stress as well.
Good tips. All right. So, Amanda, I know that, school violence, horrible topic, things that people don't want to think about. Do a lot of parents or kids ever mention that to you? Is that like a stressful thing?
Yes, it does come up in sessions that I do have, is the anxiety of violence, whether it's gun violence. It does come up in my sessions. And a part of it is just supporting. I know schools have gotten better with managing or handling, different crises inside schools.
And I know they practice drills, and I don't know if that makes the anxiety worse or better, knowing that plans are in place. And I think, what is it? If you see something, say something, but you do find that that's like a conversation that your patients do have with you or your clients have with you?
Yes. And a part of it is, managing their anxiety. And I know that, it can be a challenging topic, on how to manage your anxiety during those crises. But one thing we try to, promote is using your supports. Like, who do you have around you that is supportive? And as I mentioned, like, the schools have also been handling their crisis in a way that, is in a supportive way of helping the children manage their anxiety. And I know that the anxiety might be there. And a part of it, as I mentioned, is just using your supports, using your outlets, whether it's, talking to a parent, and I talk about it where, some kids want to be homeschooled now, with the anxiety of going into a school environment. Or, you also have parents that have heightened anxiety in sending their children to school because they don't know if they're going to be safe there.
It's definitely a scary time, for sure. All right, I do want to circle back that I do want to find out, can you give me a quick recap of the Native Health Behavioral Health programs So I know we talked a little bit about counseling, individual, family, and group counseling, but I think we have I know we have other programs, right?
Yes. So I know there are also specific providers that do provide marriage counseling as well. We also do like men's domestic violence group. We have a standard outpatient program. We also offer DUI education classes. We have an intensive outpatient program. And then we also have a recovery maintenance program as well.
And talking circles.
And talking circles.
So lots of stuff.
Yeah, a lot. And, we're just continuing to build. And, so that's one thing I'm excited about is just bringing more groups into Native Health.
And I know we've got behavioral health at all 3 locations.
Yes.
At our central location, at our NHW location, at 22nd Avenue in Dunlap, and then also Mesa. And I know we've got psychiatric nurse practitioners, and we can do med management and lots of different things as well. How can our listeners find more information about the behavioral health department and make an appointment? Would they just call and say they need to do an intake?
Yes. So, just give us a call at Native Health Central and schedule an intake. Let them know you're interested in therapy. And usually they would go ahead and schedule you then and there for an intake and get your intake done, and they'll provide you with services that you're coming in for.
Okay. And that would be 602-279-5262. And that would be for all Native Health locations.
Yes.
All right. Amanda, thanks so much for coming on, and let's hope people are able to relax a little bit before school starts and not be stressed this year.
Yes. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and
have fun.
School is coming back.
Yep.
Coming up next on Native Talk Arizona, we'll chat with DJ Carrasco, founder and CEO of Native Nations. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 8800 North 22nd Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org. Native Talk Arizona returns after this song. You are listening to Mighty by Jace Martin.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy. And Native Nations creates opportunities for Native youth while fostering cultural pride and community empowerment as a model for Indigenous excellence in baseball and softball, with a supporting pathway to collegiate and professional leagues. On the phone with us today is DJ Carrasco. He's the founder, CEO, and owner of Native Nations. DJ, welcome to Native Talk Arizona.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Super excited to learn more. My husband's a huge baseball fan, but before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
So I grew up as a young kid aspiring to be a major leaguer like anybody else. I vividly remember an experience when I was living in Safford, Arizona, a small town in the bottom corner of Arizona. And I walked in the house one day and I seen some kids playing on TV. My age, a little bit older than me, looked like my cousins and myself that play at the fairgrounds. And right then I knew I wanted to play on TV. I didn't know what that really meant, but it was just something that I knew in my heart I wanted to do. And I was very fortunate and blessed to be able to do that for a living as a major league ball player for 8 seasons and a coach, a scout, grew the game of baseball overseas and ambassador to MLB. So baseball's been a part of my life since day one, and I want to provide those same opportunities to our Native youth around the country.
Pretty awesome. All right. So am I allowed to ask what team you used to play for?
Of course. So I was drafted originally by the Texas Rangers out of high school. I decided not to go. I then was drafted again by the Baltimore Orioles. Ultimately went through the Cleveland Indians organization, the Pittsburgh Pirates organization in the minor leagues. And then I made it to the big leagues, the Kansas City Royals, Chicago White Sox, Pittsburgh Pirates again, Arizona Diamondbacks, as well as played overseas, and the New York Mets.
Wow. All right. And what position did you play, or positions?
I was a pitcher, mostly a pitcher, yep.
Okay. And your shoulder and elbow are still good?
They're still good. I just threw 6 innings last Sunday, actually. I'm just recovering from it all now. So I love the game. I still play. I have fun. We play in San Carlos and at Salt River, and I play in men's league whenever I can. So it keeps me young. That's my exercise, yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So let's talk about what's Native Nations.
So Native Nations, for your listeners, I would like for them to imagine what USA Baseball, USA Softball, the USA Olympic team, that is what Native Nations is going to be modeled after, and I'm proud to say we have the first and only charter in the Babe Ruth Cal Ripken World Series pathway. They recognize other countries across the world, and it's kind of that mini Olympics, if you would, at the Baseball America Park in Branson, Missouri this year. So we will be the first time in an organized youth, call it network of an organization, as a national team comprised of all 574 recognized tribes, and I have those aspirations on through the WBC, which is the World Baseball Classic, and then having talks with the International Olympic Committee in the future as well.
Okay, so for those listeners, including me, that are not familiar with much about baseball, what is you said it was like USA Baseball, USA Softball. Let's back up and talk about what is that? Like, so
okay,
when somebody's like in Little League, how do they
if
start?
Right. So, every country has an Olympic national governing body of sports. USA, basketball, swimming, gymnastics, whatever it may be. I'm referring to their baseball and softball, their diamond sports of our Olympic program. What I'm trying to create across the country for Native communities is something very similar, for us to be recognized as our own body of nations comprised together to be one whole representation across the country in all sports. It's just starting with baseball this year. We're going to roll out softball next year. And so it's not travel ball. It's not we're just putting a team together. This is a true pathway through regional tournaments, our national tournament, and having an all-star team be selected to play in the Babe Ruth World Series, representing Native America as a country team.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So I know you said you're just starting with baseball. So tell me, and again, I'm not very knowledgeable about baseball. So how does this work? Do people sign up? Do you have different events in the country? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yep. So there's multiple components to what Native Nations is doing. Obviously the one that's most relevant right now is our national tournament that we're holding July 19th and 20th at Salt River Talking Stick Field on the Colorado Rocky side. There's also the evening before at 6 o'clock, we are going to do a question and answer with people like myself, college recruiters, mental performance coaches, health and wellness, strength and conditioning, giving the community a chance to ask the questions that might be too expensive or not, just not having the network to be able to ask those professionals. So there'll be a skills kind of competition on the front end of that, something really nice and easy. We'll announce some leaders on our website, and some of the other components that we have. There's a big health and wellness part of it. We've coined it Home Plate, the program that'll be making its introduction at the tournament. We'll be talking about hydration and holistic health. We'll have a holistic nutritional therapy practitioner. What's special about the program is we'll address communities' health concerns, obesity, heart disease, and so on and so forth. So there's the wellness with the functional approach and root causes on how do we address that across the country. We'll also, that home plates will also be a part of our camps and clinics that we will start rolling out this fall on to next year, so we can help the communities that might not have the best coaching or the most robust knowledge, or just bring in a fresh program that we might bring in and help coaches. And there's also platforms that players and their parents can utilize with recruiting purposes or coaching purposes once we leave. So it's a very robust program. It's something that I did similar in New Zealand with our Maori cousins and the Kiwis there and their national program, except we have the support now of several different entities and organizations that are backing this cause. For instance, we have Professional Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association that's comprised of over 25 different Major League strength coaches, decades of experience. So anything programming that they can offer, strength, stretching, recovery, arm care, injury prevention, those are going to be available. That's the type of quality of knowledge that we're going to be sharing with all our communities and helping advance our kids in diamond sports. So there's a lot to unpack, and I know we have a little bit of time, but I'm excited about it. Again, like a lot of this information will be available on our website for everybody to check out at nativenations.com. Don't forget to spell the T's with sevens. And so I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I'll let you get back to it.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple questions. So do you recommend that kids start? So like if you've got like a young child, do you encourage families to get children out there like for T-ball and all of that to get started in that?
I do. If the child's dream is to be competitive, there's no substitute for repetitions, and getting out there earlier is better than later. Now, there's a balance between too much baseball, but at that level, the question you asked, yes, get T-ball, play with them in the backyard, play catch, throw ground balls, let them hit it as far as they want. But 100%, yes, get them involved as soon as possible.
Okay. I used to coach T-ball. I was not very good because I didn't even know where the shortstop was. But anyway, all right. So then for your program that you've got coming up in a couple weeks at Salt River, you said the night before that's going to be open to everybody, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
We encourage
adults, kids, anybody can come to that?
Yep. So again, it's going to be our Native Nations. Most likely it's going to be all the athletes that are going to be in this competition. I encourage grandma, aunties, adults to be able to be there because they have some of the most relevant questions and concerns. Sometimes the kids just don't know what to ask because they're so young. So I really would like the adults to be available. Bring your blanket. We're going to have a panel I'm going to just call them experts to be available for all the questions. Storytelling. There's some really cool stories about being in the major leagues that I can tell. All of our panelists will be able to do the same. But bring a blanket. We'll hang out in the outfield, and we'll just hang out and chat.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting. Then, So the next day, you're doing a 13 and 16 under Native Nations National Tournament, right? The Babe Ruth World Series. So for those of us, including me, what is the Babe Ruth World Series? Okay,
so I'll back up a little bit. It's the 16 through 13, so it's not two different ones. It's all one age group, but it's all of those ages. Okay. And so this is the pathway to the Babe Ruth World Series. So Native Nations has their own charter that we will be hosting tournaments throughout the country on all the Native communities across the country. Native only pathway to the Babe Ruth World Series. So no different than, call it Mexico, Canada, Dominican. They will all have a regional and a national tournament. So the best team in Dominica or Puerto Rico will send a team to the Babe Ruth World Series to represent their country. We're doing the same thing for Native Americans. We're providing that pathway, and our winners will represent Native nations as a country's team in the Babe Ruth World Series.
Okay, so what's the so it's just like a big, sorry,
okay,
very ignorant with baseball,
so Babe
but
Ruth World Series is very similar to the Little League World Series. It's been around.
Okay.
They're probably the two biggest youth organizations in baseball from the very beginning that there is.
And Little League is for younger kids, right, or not?
Yeah, well, the Little League, the television portion that we see the most is the little kids, but they also have older age groups as well.
Okay, I've seen the little kids, like younger, like
Yep.
elementary school. Okay,
Yep.
and then so you said next year you're going to be expanding into softball, right? So this year it's just
Yep.
baseball. Okay, and are you
Yep.
planning on doing the same thing for the girls next year?
Yep, that's it. That's the softball portion. I mean, I encourage girls that play baseball to come out. There's actually a team that is bringing a girl out. I would absolutely love to see a girl make that team and go represent us in the World Series. You know, this is that age group where girls are still, that physical maturity might still be a little bit more than some of the boys, so they have a really good chance. But yes, through our Babe Ruth charter, we have the ability to send 8 different age groups of boys and 8 different age groups of girls in softball as well. So we plan on rolling that out as time as time and funds permit us to do so.
That's pretty awesome. So can girls, and again, I don't know very much about this, can girls play on a boys' team or no?
No, they can. 100% they can. And there are some girls that are good enough to do it. I say this jokingly, and I don't know if anybody's seen the Fort Mojave girls, but they can hit a ball. And they do really well at developing their talent out there. So I've been on some of their members over there to put some girls in and show the world that what they can do as well.
That's pretty awesome. But they pitch differently, correct? In softball, they
In softball, they do. Yes, it's underhand, and the bases are closer, bigger ball, different bats. There's a whole bunch of different stuff around it. But there are some girls that do play baseball because they want the challenge. They, for whatever reason, they want to do it. It's available for them to do here.
All right. So after you have the Native Nations tournament in a couple weeks at Salt River, what happens?
So then August 5th, we will report to Branson, Missouri. That's at the Ballpark of America. That's where this World Series event will happen. We'll have introductions and kind of just uniforms and getting, headshots for media and so on and so forth on the 6th. On the 7th, we're going to have opening ceremonies. There'll be home run derbies, skills contests. They do a really, really good job there and entertain the kids. There's water parks. There's tournaments. Like we have our pool play starting the 8th, and then, after pool play, it's tournament play. So if you win the whole thing, you're going to be leaving on the 17th. So it's a big, long tournament. We really, really encourage all of our Native fans around the country to be in attendance. We know how we pack the house here in basketball. We want to do the same thing and let everybody know what we're doing in Branson, Missouri. And it's special in the fact that CNBC is actually going to be doing some live games, national broadcasting this year, similar to what Little League does on ESPN. We're going to have the ability to do that with CNBC this year.
Wow, you sound so passionate about baseball.
Well, yeah, I've been very blessed to have done it as a career, and be in the position to be able to take on this project as well.
Pretty awesome. All right, so why do you think it's so important to include your cultural heritage with sports?
I mean, so if anybody has watched our Kiwi brothers in New Zealand, they have a thing called the haka, right? It's their warrior dance, it's their challenge, it's their respect. And every time I've been a part of that in all their sports, the whole stadium, the whole complex stops and they come and watch that. It's an opportunity to share culture, number one. We have a blank slate here as Native Nations to show the world what does Native American diamond sports, baseball and softball look like. That's very important. It's to showcase our young kids and their traditions on each respected tribe and be able to just show the world who we are, what we're about in our own individual ways.
All right. So because you're so passionate, I am sure that you have a favorite success story. Anything you can think of off the top of your head?
Well, I mean, when it comes to myself, it's always making it to the big leagues, right? Like that's the crescendo of since playing t-ball, like you mentioned, right? Like 4 or 5 years old, I'm throwing a baseball, and at 25 years old, 24 years old, I was able to actually do it with a major league uniform on my back. Now, I would take way too much time. We don't have enough airtime for that, but I will say that, I thought the clouds were going to part and the Angels were going to start blaring trumpets and everything when I got on that field, but I think they were really smart and they got me up in the bullpen, probably knowing I wasn't going to get in the game, just to burn off so much energy that I probably would have thrown the ball halfway up the backstop at my first pitch. But it was, that's probably my first part of my career. The biggest deal is actually making it to the big leagues and pitching in the Kansas City Royal Stadium at Kauffman Stadium for the first time.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. All right, so where do you see Native Nations going after this tournament? And then you're adding softball. So where do you kind of see Native Nations going in the future?
I really see a cross-country, call it regional hubs of Native Nations. Now, whether that's New Mexico and the 19 pueblos there and having the ability to train all of their kids and having a central hub to host camps and tournaments out of. Then we go to Southern California. We go to the Pacific Northwest, the Dakotas. Like, this is really the same type model that other countries do. And I'm not saying next year that happens, but I think you take that 5 to 10 year snapshot, this infrastructure with our community centers and rec centers and support in the fields that we have. Now we have a direction and we have the ability to showcase ourselves as our own sovereign national team. I think everybody's going to be on board for that, right? We all talk about a brighter future for our kids and a pathway for them. That's what I'm trying to provide here with Native Nations. And then I think that changes into the most obvious thing is basketball's next. Then it's soccer and football or whatever that may be. So we have a lot of partnerships out there that we're working with. ISC, 7G, like they're tremendous helps and trying to get the ball pushed along with what we're doing. So you're going to see after this event and when it gets captured and gets put on social media and when we have this national story around us and ESPN picks it up and so on and so forth, I think the world's going to be on notice, and it's just up to us as nations to showcase our talent at that point.
I think it sounds pretty exciting. All right, so for the event that's happening in a couple weeks at Salt River and when this airs, are people able to still apply? Is it teams that will be applying for this event at Salt River, or is it individuals? And again, sorry, I'm very ignorant about all of this.
No. It's those are great questions, and those are probably the most common questions that we have. So right now, I have the ability for anybody who wants to be a coach, just coach alone. Like, I don't have a kid that plays, or I have a kid that plays, but I don't have enough players to actually make a team. But I want to coach. I want to be a part of it. There's a section for that. You go on our website, you'll see it. It's the boxes that move around. Nopalito Network did a great job on our website. It's actually somebody you've had on the show before, and she's a rock star. So Nicolette, if you're hearing this, you're amazing. So we also have the coach and the manager that has a team that knows they have a roster or might not have a full roster, but they're trying to get it. They have that ability as well. And then we have the section for the players, and we have a free agent section. So if you're a kid that doesn't have a lot of Native kids playing with you on your team, rural or urban, you can register there. And then on the back end, me and my co-commissioner will either place you on a team that might be short on the roster size, or maybe they have one catcher and they need a couple more. Or if not, we will be able to actually make our own free agent team. So I'm trying to get as many people the opportunity to play as possible. And so I'm just creating ways for everybody to be a part of this.
Okay, and that's what I was going to ask. So if somebody's like a catcher, that's what they're going to come in as a catcher, and you're not putting them in like a first baseman, right? It's what they're interested in and what they're good at.
Right. So
okay.
at this age, usually as you start getting past that 16-year-old age, you're going to be a little bit more stuck on your position, whether you're a pitcher only or third baseman only. But you got a little bit younger kids that might play multiple positions right now. So we just ask what's your primary position and then your secondary position. So to your point, if you were a coach and you needed an outfielder, I'm going to go through the roster on the back end. I'm going to see how many outfielders I have. We're going to talk. I'm going to talk with their parents. Hey, this team's out of New Mexico. This team's out of California. Do you want them to be with somebody similar or totally new experience or whatever? So we're going to walk through and do some hand holding to make this the best experience possible for all the kids and everybody involved.
Sounds pretty awesome. All right, so how could the community help with Native Nations mission? Is there something people can do? Website?
Yep.
How can they learn more, and what can they do?
Most definitely. I think number one is show up and show out. Like, let's show the world what we do, how we do it, how we play ball, how we support our youth. We're going to have some cool vendors out there. If there's any vendors listening, we would love for you to apply online with us as well. At the bottom, there's like a volunteer section. So if you make jewelry, if you make food, if you have some really cool stuff you want to be a part of, we want you to be a part of it with us. Also, spread the word. Share, like. We have all of our social handles. Everything is pretty much Native Nations with 7s as T's, Instagram, Facebook, all of that fun stuff. Lastly, if there's any type vendors that want to be a part of this, like we're always looking to raise funds for our World Series pathway, and anything can help with that journey.
Okay, and I think you mentioned that the upcoming tournament that you've got, that you had a generous donor that's covered the fees for that. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome.
Good catch there. Yeah, so it just out of nowhere, there was an anonymous donor that said, you know what, I love what you guys are doing. I want to commit to paying the fees of all the kids and teams that are registered. So now it's free. Everybody can get on there and put a team together and get these kids going. I will say you better do it soon because registration is going to end on the 7th, that we need the time on the back end to put this all together with rosters. So I can't wait to see everybody out there. And we'll have some fun stuff for the younger kids. You know, I notice a lot of times the younger brothers and sisters that aren't playing, what are we doing? There's a little infield between all the field at the very bottom there that there's water behind it. We're going to have some wiffle balls out there, and they can go ahead and play some strikeout or play a wiffle ball game of their own. So we're trying to include everybody here, and we want this to be a community event because I truly do believe that, you know, it takes a village to raise a kid, and we're at our inaugural year here doing this whole thing, and so like everybody that can get there, please do.
So DJ, is there a deadline, or how does this work for people to register or find out more if they want to get involved and play?
Yep. So really our only deadline is going to be our 12-team maximum. So once we hit our 12 teams, we will be shutting down the registration, and I'll be getting in contact with all the players, parents, and coaches at that point to finalize the rosters.
Okay, and again, when are the dates of this at Salt River?
So Salt River, our official tournament date is going to be the morning of the 18th. We'll have our blessing by President Javier of the Salt River Tribe, and that's going to be at 7:30. We're going to look to have first pitch by 8 o'clock, anywhere that 8 to 8:10. It's going to be an hour and a half time limits, and we're going to go 8 o'clock for the first game, try and get that second game in at 10. We're going to take a break on the day because of the heat, and we're going to come back in the evening time. And then on the front end of that, the Friday the 18th, 6 p.m. at the Way of Life Center till 8 o'clock, we're going to be there for our skills competition and our question and answer with our professional panel.
That's pretty awesome. And that's all, again, at Salt River, correct?
Salt River, yes.
Okay.
Salt River.
All right. It has been a total pleasure. How can our listeners find more information about Native Nations, and how can they contact you and or find out more about the tournament?
I would say please like all of our socials, all the way from Facebook to Instagram. The information will also be on our website, nativenations.com. Again, that's Native Nations with 7s, not T's, for our 7 generational thinking. And so you guys just go there and ask any questions. We also have on our flyer that's been circulating, that actually goes straight to my personal phone, so I can answer any questions that you might have. After this recording, though, maybe I might change that idea altogether. But I appreciate your time, and thank you to the listeners, and I hope to see you soon. Come say hi, please.
Super. It's been very informative. I've learned a lot about baseball that I didn't know. And if people want to Google you, and so they can ask some really good questions. I'm assuming they can find all about your MLB history via Google or something on the web, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, being a ball player, that there's going to be all kinds of fun stuff you can or can't ask. But I encourage you guys to show up to the Way of Life Center at 6 and 8 o'clock, 6 till 8 o'clock, sorry, and ask those questions. Ask developmental questions. Ask mental approach questions. One other thing that I like to touch on, stay tuned to our socials because we're going to do one more question and answer to the community, kind of an open forum, like a Google call. I'm sorry, like a Zoom call where we'll have everybody online, have the ability for parents to ask questions if they have any more information. So person to person, we can ask all of that. But we also had a really cool call last night. We talked to an Ak-Chen mother that has a really good ball player, and we probably spent a half hour just giving her ideas on development and the pathway of that kid's career and what to think about and what a routine is and so on and so forth. So I want to help everybody have the same opportunity I had and, provide that pathway through Native Nations.
What an awesome opportunity, and that you're willing to give up your time and your expertise to help these kids. So what a blessing you are. So thank you, DJ. We appreciate you coming on, and hopefully you'll get a lot of people that turn out and register and show up and play.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for the interest in helping amplify our message. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy. Sound engineer is Javier Quiroga. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listentokrdp.com.